The ideas, some of the ideas that come forward is that these beings control the ships with their minds. Their consciousness is tied to their quote-unquote ships, and sometimes there are no ships. These lights in the sky are lights, are just energy, and they are them. Alright, so just to keep addressing this idea of the Merkabah and the Merkabah mysticism, I am not saying that this is all there is, this is the only thing that exists. The idea of these actual mechanical discs, or whatever you may call them, UFOs, they seem to be a real thing, they seem to be part of the whole thing, but there's also the idea, this is why they changed the name to UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. It's an aerial phenomenon, it's not necessarily a ship, it's something going on in the sky. So there's this thing called Merkabah mysticism, and I'm gonna pull up Wikipedia because this is a very known event that happened in ancient scriptures. Ezekiel, when he saw the chariots of fire. Now, I've written a book on ancient scriptures, you can find it below. I go into the transliterations into the scriptures in Greek, in Hebrew, so if you're interested about that, go into that. I've done this a lot of times, but right now I'm just gonna pull up Wikipedia. A lot of people say that when you pull Wikipedia, you don't know what you're talking about. This is just basic ideas, basic facts. You can just Google this and you will find it. You will find the art, so on and so forth. So in any case, the Merkabah mysticism. Merkabah can be traced down to a chariot. This is the idea that he saw the chariots of fire, concerning the stories of ascents to the heavenly palaces and the throne of God. When you think about the book of Enoch and some of the other stories, there's also in ancient stories that first NDE, just related to Plato, it talks about people who go into the heavens, and this is what we're finding in outer states of consciousness. So in this story of Ezekiel, he saw a four-wheeled vehicle driven by four ayot, living creatures, each of which has four wings and the four faces of a man, lion, ox, and eagle. So what we can see here is that this is an altered state of consciousness. He went through an experience. He went through some sort of a quote-unquote hallucination. Now, when you go deep into it, and if we pull up the art here, we can see more or less what he saw. He saw this being, which is very animalistic. There's a reference to ancient art called when people just represent things with animals. It's part of the culture. But he also saw this spherical structure with eyes, and these spheres would rotate on an axis, and this is part of also these geometrical shapes that people see in altered states of consciousness, especially during psychedelics. He saw beings, people communicated with him, there was a message, and so on and so forth. Now you can go into the whole... Before I move forward, I would like to remind you that if you want to join the growing discussion on consciousness and would like to be notified on the latest scientific discoveries and theories surrounding this topic and how they connect to ancient mythologies and philosophies, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, as I'll try to upload at least one video per week as I continue with the outline story. But we can see that this was an altered state of consciousness, and when some other art was related to this, you know, just circles or orbs in the sky. Now they put the wings because in their minds there's no way to justify something flying unless it has wings, because the only thing that they knew could fly back then were animals with wings. So this is why they put the wings into these spherical shapes. Very, very interesting. So now we go back into this. It says the third type of angel, the whole idea of angel is what he saw. The Merkabah called seraphim, burning angels. So there's this idea of burning, the burning chariot, the burning angels. What is this? Is this fire? Is this light? Is this energy? Is this electromagnetic energy? In the second part of this video, I'm going to talk about electromagnetic energy because it has to do with it. Of course, I have videos in this channel just going on about how everything is electromagnetic energy. Everything, as I'm saying, all of this is connected. It's part of the same thing. So the chariots, these Merkabahs, these UFOs, these UAPs, these things in the skies, is in a constant state of motion, and the energy behind this movement runs according to this hierarchy. The movement, the ophonym, is controlled by the living creatures. This is what they are finding about these UAPs. Well, the movement of the higher is controlled by seraphim. So this is these different angelic beings, the seraphim. Now when you go into the cherub, the cherubim, you see this image, which is the same image with the single leg. Well, it has two legs in this, but according to him, it was a single leg, and these four animalistic patterns here. But when you go here, it says some early midrash. What is midrash? Midrash is looking at the scriptures deeply. The word itself means textual interpretation, study, or exegesis. This is going deep into the scriptures. This is what I did in my first book. You go and look at the scriptures in Hebrew, you look at the scriptures in Greek, and you find that the meaning is a little bit different. There's so much more going on here. So when they look into that, they realize that some literature conceives of them as non-corporeal beings. This is a non-physical situation, which most likely appeared to this individual in a way in which he could make sense of them with wings, because humans back then only thought about things who could fly as winged beings. So now, how does this tie all into consciousness? I'm gonna pull up this little article here. This is a WordPress article. I'm gonna link it below. This is not official research or anything like that, but they did a great job putting together all of what the abductees and the UFO experiences have put forward, and I might go into this in the future. I'm just gonna link it below. I'm just gonna go into a couple of them. So what does it say here? UFOs are purported to be capable of doing things that make a purely nuts and bolts approach untenable, and in which a spiritual or immaterial element is seen to be necessary, like apparitions. UFO can disappear or materialize. They can engage in aerial maneuvers that are deemed impossible for physical craft. They can merge or split apart. They can change shape. So we're talking about shapeshifters. We're talking about materializing and dematerializing. And this happens also with the actual entities, with the actual beings. You know, in Altered States of Consciousness, when you look into a report, they say that the beings came through the walls. We're talking about a non-physical phenomenon, where to these entities, these beings are non-physical, as Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan are trying to find out. So it says here, quantum mechanics, let me find it. UFO and alien encounters are associated with altered states of consciousness, with witnesses, contactees, abductees, experiencers regularly reporting loss of bodily control, sleep paralysis, missing time, a transference of information, and or dialogue between themselves and the UFO notes via telepathy. Just like in other altered states of consciousness, in near-death experiences, and in the psychedelic breakthrough, people communicate with these beings through telepathy, not through words. Deep feelings of euphoria or terror, which this is part of the negative aspects of it. People feel so afraid of this that they think of the whole experience as something negative, but it's not necessarily negative. And there's a lot of positive experiences, a sense of intimate connectedness to the existence, and sometimes with the UFO notes themselves. UFO notes talking about the aliens, in which the thoughts and minds of the participants meld seamlessly together and reveal themselves as being part of a unity, a linking of past, present, and future, and a sense of ascending and descending through vistas of space, going into the whole cosmic themes of the altered states of consciousness. Sometimes simultaneously, for example, a sensation of descending into a deep cavernous darkness while also ascending into outer space. When people go into NDEs, they talk about these tunnels. They see the below and they see above. The negative is below, the positive is above. Many reported experiences are highly reminiscent of or are outright concrete instantiations of hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations, and they talk about Whitley Strieber and so on and so forth. So as we can see, this is a spiritual event. This is an altered state of consciousness. This is it's all tied. It's all part of the same thing. And now, as I said, you may not believe a word that I say here. You may think of this as pure fantasy, but if you actually want to look into this, as I said, I'm going into this in depth, but this is at this time anecdotal. All right, so some of the other things that they found here, similar to CE5 narrative pushed by disclosure activist Stephen Greer, in which one can communicate through meditation. So we're talking about meditation as a form of contact. UFO nodes are imagined to be or have the ability of transmogrifying into incorporeal entities, able to pass through walls or engage in similar ghost-like behavior. So you start tying the whole paranormal phenomenon to these entities which appear as, you name it, from vampires and werewolves to aliens or whatever you may think. It all seems to be part of the same thing, and sometimes have overly benign intentions, while other times having more intrusive or inscrutable ones. So this is the idea of the positive and the negative experience. So the UFO nuts seem to need us for something, perhaps to complete themselves by engaging in the emotions and joys. So this is something very important, because this is, I've been wondering a lot about, when people go into altered states of consciousness and they go into a psychedelic breakthrough, they often say that they see these beings going into their brains and looking into their emotions and looking into to fixing them, sometimes healing them, bringing them peace. So it's a lot of, even if you go into Robert Monroe and his ideas on delusion, so on and so forth, why do these beings care so much about the human experience? It seems that they are part of the purpose. They are part of they're looking for something in these experiences. Why do people have a life review? Why is it so important what we do in life and how we relate to each other and the feelings and the emotions that we make others feel? The emotions and joys, this is what they're interested in. This is what seems to be important. This gives meaning to life. Why are we here? What are we doing with these emotions and joys? And it seems that these aliens are interested in these things. Why? What? What's going on? They need something. They need us for something. Okay, so as we humans are capable of feeling, while also imparting some hidden knowledge or way of seeing to us. They are perhaps trying to recover something that they have lost, while also warning us about our fate if we continue on a foolish and destructive path. These themes feature prominently in Whitley Strieber's writings. So there's this whole idea that these, specifically the gray aliens, are a version of us in the future. Now, as I said, take this as fantasy. This is just pure fantasy. There's no way to prove this, but this idea keeps repeating and repeating and repeating in the abductee reports, in the altered states of consciousness reports, in the literature, and so on and so forth. The idea is that they are some form of us in the future, in a future where a nuclear catastrophe or some sort of catastrophe happened and they lost their ability to reproduce, at least in the normal way, and they became such a hive mind, they became such a thing that they lost many of the emotions that we as humans still have. So, okay, so these abductions, these things, the negative experience is related to sexuality sometimes. They say that there is a trespass, there is an intrusive aspect in sexuality in these experiences sometimes. A quick story that comes to my mind right now is where people were in a ship and they were being worked by beings, as very much as in the psychedelic experience. Sometimes they are on a table and these beings are looking into them. As I said, sometimes they are healing them, they are helping them, they are bringing information. As it says here, I think I already read it, where it's a positive experience, it's a merging experience, it's a spiritual experience, but sometimes they wake up and they see a bunch of humans, a bunch of babies. It seems to be about reproduction. It's not about hurting people, it's not about intrusiveness. There is intrusiveness, it seems. I mean, the whole thing is highly complex and highly weird in a sense, but it seems to be, and a lot of people say that they do this willingly. They have some sort of soul contract and whatnot with other species, and there's so much literature. But what I want to put forward in this video is that it's not entirely a negative thing. It seems that they need something from us. They are using us, yes, in a way. They need us for something, but at the same time, there's an exchange of technology. There's an exchange of knowledge, an exchange of positive things, and their main purpose is not to hurt us, it seems. Now, always take this with skepticism. All the information is out there. So the UFO nuts are often described as bringing guidance and a model for a new way of life that is not ecocidal. This awakening of a cosmic evolutionary trajectory will connect us with creation, the source, God, etc. And we will have achieved cosmic brotherhood once we awaken and reach this new level of consciousness. So this is, again, as I said, this positive exchange from this interaction. Now they do here in this text, they do criticize this. Of course, this is wishful thinking in a way, but a lot of reports are saying this. And when you tie the near-death experiences, when you tie the psychedelic breakthrough, speaking about cosmic love and how everything at the end is love, and it's much more positive than we might think. We may argue that this is not entirely a negative thing. Collective movement became increasingly interwoven with psychedelics and the altered states of consciousness into the 1960s and 70s, as well as the message of the contactees itself: peace, universal brotherhood, cosmic connectedness. It's repeating the same thing. There's this whole idea that the experiencer seems to be positive. Experience of report heightened levels of consciousness, deeper understanding of the world, and psychic telekinetic abilities after returning from their time on board on alien craft and are being in contact with the UFO nodes. The UFO nodes are the aliens. Yes, if you go into the abduction reports, this happens. They come back and they say it was a spiritual experience. They learn so much, but there's always this enigma, and there's always these half-truths, and there's not always like a full idea of exactly what's going on. There's a lot of forgetfulness and people not understanding fully what's going on. So in any case, yeah, I went through the whole thing a little bit. I just wanted to bring a little bit forward of some of the things that I've been looking into in terms of UFO and the alien ideas. It seems to be a more positive thing now. You want to go into this, again, the same thing. Theory suggests the presence of UFOs. It's telepathy, precognition, paranormal, interdimensional. It's a non-physical aspect. It's a consciousness, because everything is consciousness. And if these beings have gone through evolution, they became a non-physical aspect of reality, and they go back and forward between the physical and the non-physical. They materialize their quote-unquote ships or their Merkabahs, and they dematerialize it. They were talking about an aerial phenomenon, not about actual objects in the skies. So if you want to go into all of this, here I'm going to link this below. You can find some of the resources here. Jack Ballet, John Mack, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Stephen Greer, even Alexander is here. Dean Braden, I've done some videos on him. He proved that healing or psychic healing or touch healing is a real thing. I have some videos on this. If you want to go into the actual books, they're all right here. You can go through them before you make your own criteria, before you deny all of this. Maybe go into all of this. Maybe you'll find something interesting about this. As I said, this is the evidence on this is not as structured and as clear as the NDE experience and the psychedelic breakthrough is. There's so much research on that going on already, but I'm gonna approach it as I'm doing here and there. Now, the last thing that I want people to take into account when they go into those names and they Google them and they watch their videos or they read their books is I want you to look at this. Neuroscientist, historian, chief scientist, neurosurgeon, professor, astrophysicist, physician, astronaut, psychiatrist, computer scientist. These are not people just trapped in their bedrooms doing LSD or DMT all day. These are experts in the field. These are scientists, these are professors, these are astronauts, people who have a direct connection with these themes, and they are experts in their fields. And these are just a few of them. There are much more people talking about this beyond Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. This is huge. What's happening is we are realizing the true connection to something beyond, something supernatural, something extraterrestrial or extra spiritual, if you may. Thank you so much for watching. If you find any value in the content that I'm putting forward, please consider supporting the project through Patreon on the links below. Likewise, you can like, share, subscribe, comment, or follow me on other social media so more people have access to this information. Thank you so much for watching, and maybe I'll see you in the next one.